Hoodie Guy coming back here with another one. So today we're going to be talking about taking profit game plan. I think when the market, it's going up, but we're not in that stage of taking profit yet, I don't believe. So it's a good time to start thinking about that. Now, one, you could be a hodler, no plan on selling the cycle, only DCing in more on dips for a long-term position. So selling is not something that's part of your game plan, but you still have a game plan. Your game plan is acquiring more on dips, kind of like, or just buying more like MicroStrategy, just constantly buying more. So you got a game plan together. That's the most important thing, is just having your game plan together, and it makes you less emotional. Now you could say, for example, you're going to take profits with a small percentage of the portfolio. You're going to have to decide what metrics or prices you might sell at. An example, 10%, you might sell at 65 cents. Maybe you sell 10% at 95 cents. Maybe you sell 10% at $1.49. Maybe you only sell 10% of your portfolio. Maybe you sell 30%. We're all having something different, but you're now trying to get a game plan together of when you might first take profit. You know, some people might be waiting for $1, so you might try to front run that at 95 cents, maybe at 65 cents. Maybe your average cost was 6.5 cents. You got a 10x. You sell, you get most of your initial back. Maybe that's all you're looking to do. Now you just got the rest of your Kaspa, it's house money. Or maybe we're selling at $1.49 if it gets up there. We don't know exactly how high Kaspa is going to get. So this is all theoretical, but kind of having some game plan is going to make a huge difference if you plan on taking some profits. And what metrics? There's plenty of metrics. Pi cycle top indicator is one that I'm taking a look at. There's other metrics, and you just have to write your list down of what you're looking at. Maybe a couple price targets you can have in mind of potentially selling, or you could potentially have some things like Pi cycle top indicator, fear and greed index. Plus, there's other metrics. Looking at how the fear and greed is, if it's so greedy, and mainstream people are talking a lot more bullish about Bitcoin and crypto, then that could be a red flag that it could be time to sell. Emotions will be high as the market goes up, and investors can fall in the trap of always waiting for higher prices. So trying to cut some of the emotions out of there, like it doesn't feel like the right time to sell when it is the right time to sell, and then it feels kind of scary buying those dips. If you've been in crypto for a while now, then those dips, when it crashes down, you have more confidence in buying them. So with experience, you start to get a little bit better. It still kind of hurts a little bit when your portfolio is tanking. It is hard to sell near the top because YouTubers will be calling for higher prices. I don't want to sell at $1.95, or I don't want to sell at 19.5 cents. This might be $5 next month, or that meant to be $1.95 there. It can be really hard, and that's a trap a lot of people fall into when they just never take profit. And potentially you could take profit with a larger percentage of your portfolio, and maybe your entire portfolio. It depends on what your game plan is, deciding what metrics or prices you might sell at, which is the same for any, if you're only selling 5% of your portfolio or 95% of your portfolio. An example, 10% at 65 cents, 95 cents, maybe you sell 25% at $1.95. These are all theoretical prices with Kaspa. We don't know. 65, 95 cents can be the top, $2. You'll see people thinking $5 or $10. Now, this cycle, we just don't know. There's a lot of cool technology coming. We're just about a week away, a little over a week away, but basically a week away from the 10 blocks per second upgrade, which will be a huge revolution. Now, how the market prices that in, we don't know exactly. So Kaspa in a bull market pulled back from 20.5 cents to 5.5 cents. That's a 73% drawdown. In a real bear market, it could be even higher. It could be up to 95%, 90%, somewhere between 70 and 95% drawdown in a real bear market. Now, possible tops and pullbacks. Now, this is just using a scenario of a 90% pullback, which may or may not happen, but it's not unrealistic to think it's possible. So say Kaspa tops out at 95 cents, then it's going back down to 9.5 cents. Say Kaspa goes to $1.45, it could potentially go back down to 14.5 cents. Say it gets to $1.95, then it could potentially go back to 19.5 cents. A lot of liquidity will come out when the bear market comes, and most of it will flow back into Bitcoin. So maybe down the road in a future cycle, that'll be less different, but I think that's what most altcoins are going to be looking at. We don't know exactly how high or low Kaspa will go, but if a person plans on taking profits, a game plan will reduce emotional trading and riding your bags up and down. You don't want to ride your bags up and down. My plan of taking profits, well, most of my position might not be what works for you. Most likely I won't play it perfect, but I'll finish with one last point here. Maybe if you only just start off with selling 1% of your holdings, the first sell is important because it can break the stigma on selling. Otherwise, hitting the sell button becomes this mystical event that becomes harder to do as we wait for higher and higher prices. Do yourself a favor and write down some game plan ideas now before the market gets hot and heavy. It doesn't mean you have to do exactly what you write down, but coming up with a few ideas starts getting you in the mode of what you might do and just takes away the idea that the sell button is this really hard thing to do. I'm not selling now, but I'm getting my plan together, which is most like plan 3 that I talked about. And so that's just what I'm doing. Might not work for you. Well, just everyone watching this is going to have a different situation that they're in, but that is what is going to work for me in my life and my family. So that's all I got. Let me know what your game plan potentially is. You're probably got a better, take on this than I do. But that's just what I'm doing, and I think it's important now. Before it gets hot and heavy, emotions will run high. Everyone's going to be calling for higher prices on Bitcoin, overall crypto market. And you can see, everything got hot and heavy after Trump won, and then the tariffs and all this disruption, prices went down. Looks like we found a local bottom. Now we're going back up, and it could be a bumpy ride, and maybe it goes high as everyone dreams about. Maybe it doesn't. And having a game plan and trying to lock in some profit, whatever that looks like, if you're just getting your initial back, if you're trying to pay off some debt, or you just plan on trying to take profit and you feel like it's going to go down enough in the bear market, you can buy back in with a larger position. So just get your game plan together. I think that's the most important thing. And potentially just plan in a first sell. It could only be 1%. Pops the cherry, gets you acclimated with hitting the sell button, doesn't become this thing that just is impossible to do because you're always waiting for higher prices. So thanks for watching and have a good day.